The fall and exodus. The sky above New Shanghai turned black at precisely 14:32 local time on June 17, 2187. What started as a beautiful summer day ended in terror as massive obsidian ships materialized in Earth's atmosphere without warning. They appeared simultaneously over every major city on the planet. Enormous structures that defied physics, hovering silently like predators ready to strike. Commander Elena Reyes was overseeing routine maintenance on Orbital Defense Station Alpha when the proximity alarms blared. She rushed to the command center where chaos had already erupted. "What the hell are we looking at?" she demanded, staring at the tactical display showing hundreds of unknown vessels materializing throughout Earth's orbit and atmosphere. Lieutenant Collins looked up from his console, face drained of color. "Unknown contacts, Commander. They appeared out of nowhere. No approach vector, no warp signature. They just appeared." "Open all channels," Reyes ordered. "This is Commander Elena Reyes of Earth Defense Force. Unidentified vessels, identify yourselves and state your intentions." The message repeated on every frequency humanity had ever used for communication. The response came not as words but as devastation. The alien vessels, which humanity would later know as the Krell, fired simultaneously. Beams of coherent energy sliced through military installations across the globe with surgical precision. Secondary craft poured from the larger ships, moving with impossible speed and maneuverability. Defensive countermeasures. All stations, return fire. Reyes shouted as Alpha Station rocked from a glancing hit. Earth's combined military might, the culmination of 2 centuries of technological advancement, proved woefully inadequate. Hypersonic missiles vanished before reaching their targets. Particle beam weapons dissipated harmlessly against the alien hulls. Nuclear strikes were somehow neutralized mid-detonation. Within hours, Earth's organized defense capabilities were decimated. Civilian casualties mounted as the aliens methodically targeted infrastructure. "Commander, we're receiving a priority transmission from UNSC headquarters," Lieutenant Collins said, his voice barely above a whisper. The holo display flickered to show Admiral Zhang, her uniform torn and face streaked with blood. Fires raged in the background of what remained of United Nations Space Command headquarters. "Commander Reyes, I'm initiating the lifeboat protocol. Authorization, Zhang. Echo 7 Gamma 9. Reyes felt her blood run cold. The lifeboat protocol had been a theoretical contingency, a last resort measure never intended for implementation. It meant Earth was considered lost. "Admiral, request confirmation of lifeboat activation," Reyes said, hoping somehow she'd misheard. "Confirmation granted. The Krell have rejected all attempts at communication or surrender. Their only transmission stated their intent to cleanse this world for proper habitation. They're not here to conquer us, Commander. They're here to exterminate us and take our planet." Admiral Zhang's face hardened. 7 arcs are hidden beneath the surface at secure locations around the globe. They need to launch while we still can. Your station must provide cover for as long as possible. "Understood, Admiral. Alpha Station will hold the line." The connection ended, and Reyes turned to her crew. "We have a new mission. We're buying time for the evacuation arcs." For 3 days, Alpha Station coordinated what remained of Earth's defenses, creating distractions and drawing Krell attention away from the secret launch facilities where the arcs were being prepared. The evacuation was selective by necessity. Each arc could only hold 50,000 people in cryostasis: scientists, doctors, engineers, teachers, artists, a cross-section of humanity, chosen to preserve not just the species but its knowledge and culture. From her command center, Reyes watched the status of each arc. 3 had already launched successfully, slipping past the Krell blockade during manufactured distractions. 2 more were in final preparation. "Commander, they found launch site Omega," Collins reported urgently. "Krell forces are converging." Reyes made a decision. Divert all remaining orbital defenses to protect Site Omega, and prepare Alpha Station for collision course. Her crew looked at her in stunned silence. That wasn't a request, she said firmly. The sixth arc needs 20 more minutes to launch. We're going to give them that time. Alpha Station, the pride of Earth's orbital defense network, powered up its engines for the last time. Rise opened a channel to the evacuation coordinator at Site Omega. This is Commander Reyes. You have 20 minutes to launch. Make them count. The station accelerated toward the largest concentration of Krell ships surrounding the launch site. As they approached, Reyes gave her final order: overload the fusion reactors. Maximum yield. In its final moments, Orbital Defense Station Alpha became the brightest light in Earth's sky. The explosion destroyed dozens of Krell vessels and temporarily blinded their sensors, creating a window for the sixth arc to escape Earth's gravity well. The seventh arc never made it. Krell forces overwhelmed its launch site before preparations could be completed. On board Arc 3, Dr. Sophia Chen watched Earth recede through a viewport. As the ship's chief scientist, she was one of the few awakened crew members who would oversee the long journey. How many made it? Asked Captain Miguel Sanchez, the Arc's commander. 6 arcs launched successfully, she replied, her voice hollow with grief. 300,000 people, Captain, out of billions. Those 300,000 are counting on us, Sanchez reminded her gently. We carry the future of humanity now. Arc 3's engines hummed as it accelerated to interstellar velocity. The 6 surviving arcs formed a convoy, heading toward the Ta Ceti system, 12 light-years from Earth. Their destination, an exoplanet designated TC7 bits, potentially habitable based on remote observations. The journey would take 42 years at their maximum sustainable speed. Most passengers would remain in cryostasis for the duration, while rotating crews of engineers, pilots, and scientists would maintain the arcs in 5-year shifts. Life aboard the arcs settled into a rhythm. Gaia, the integrated artificial intelligence system, monitored all ship functions and the vital signs of the sleeping passengers. Hydroponic gardens produced food for the awakened crew. Children were born on board, conceived from stored embryos to ensure genetic diversity for the future colony. These children knew Earth only through stories and simulations. They grew up in metal corridors, never feeling natural gravity or breathing unfiltered air. They were educated by both human teachers and JIA, learning the skills they would need for survival on a new world. 42 years after leaving Earth, the Ark convoy reached the Ta Ceti system. TC7 bits, renamed Novatera, was habitable, but not hospitable. Higher gravity, more atmospheric pressure, different atmospheric composition. Everything was just slightly wrong for human physiology. But it was their only option. The first colonists established Settlement 1 in a sheltered valley near the equator. They faced countless challenges, adapting Earth crops to alien soil, building structures that could withstand the intense storms that swept across the planet, creating medicines from local flora. Many died in those early years, but humanity persisted. Dr. Chen, now in her 70s, stood on a hillside overlooking Settlement 1 on the 10th anniversary of their landing. Captain Sanchez, his hair now white, stood beside her. "Did we make the right choice?" she asked, watching children play in the settlement's central plaza, children who had never known Earth. "We did what we had to do," Sanchez replied. "But this isn't the end of our story, Sophia. One day we'll return home. I won't live to see it." "No," he agreed. "But they will." He nodded toward the children. They were their children. Humans don't forget where they came from. As if to emphasize his point, a group of children were playing a game, pretending to be Commander Reyes and her crew, defending Earth against the Krell invasion. The legend had already begun. The return and reclamation. 200 years after the fall of Earth, Novatera had transformed from a struggling colony into a thriving civilization. The original settlements had grown into cities, protected by transparent domes that regulated temperature and filtered the harsh radiation from Ta City. The human population had expanded to nearly 10 million, spread across 3 major urban centers and dozens of smaller communities. Most remarkably, the harsh conditions of Novatera had driven technological innovation at an unprecedented pace. Necessity had forced the colonists to develop technologies far beyond what had existed on Earth before the Krell invasion. Dr. Eliza Reyes, a direct descendant of Commander Elena Reyes, stood in her laboratory at the Novatera Science Academy, reviewing data from her latest experiment. At 36, she was the leading researcher in quantum physics and the director of the Reclamation project. NIN-OVA, display the latest simulation results. She instructed the lab's AI system. A holographic projection materialized, showing the complex mathematics behind what many on Novatera considered impossible, a way to return to Earth and defeat the Krell. The door to her lab slid open, and Admiral Marcus Chen entered. Like Eliza, he carried the legacy of the Exodus in his bloodline. His ancestor had been Dr. Sophia Chen of Arc 3. "Tell me you have good news, Eliza," he said without preamble. "I think we've cracked it," she replied, gesturing to the hologram. "The Krell use a form of quantum displacement for their weapons and propulsion. We've reverse-engineered the principles from the data brought from Earth and combined it with our own advancements." She manipulated the hologram, zooming in on a particular equation. Their technology creates a quantum field that allows matter to exist in multiple states simultaneously. But there's a fundamental flaw in their approach, a resonance cascade vulnerability. In simple terms, Doctor, we can create a counter-resonance wave that would destabilize their quantum fields. Their ships, their weapons, even their personal shields, all would fail simultaneously. Admiral Chen's expression remained stoic, but his eyes betrayed his excitement. "How soon can we weaponize this?" "The prototype is ready for testing. If it works, we can begin outfitting the fleet within 6 months." The Novateran Defense Fleet represented 2 centuries of preparation. While the colony had focused first on survival, it had never forgotten its origins. The reclamation had been planned for generations, the mission to return to Earth and drive out the Krell invaders. 7 massive warships had been constructed in orbit, each named after one of the original arcs. Unlike their predecessors, these vessels were built for war. They incorporated both innovations developed on Novatera and adaptations of Krell technology, gleaned from centuries of research. 6 months after Dr. Reyes' breakthrough, the fleet was ready. 100,000 volunteers, soldiers, scientists, engineers, and colonists, prepared to embark on the journey back to humanity's birthplace. They represented the best of Novatera, leaving behind families and safety for a mission many might not return from. Admiral Chen addressed the assembled crews before departure. 200 years ago, our ancestors were forced to flee their home. They came here not by choice but by necessity. They built this world for us, but they never forgot where they came from. Today, we honor their memory by returning to reclaim what was taken from us. The journey back to Earth would take only 7 months thanks to the new quantum drive technology, a fraction of the time the original Exodus had required. During the voyage, the crews trained relentlessly for the coming confrontation. No one knew what they would find on Earth after 2 centuries of Krell occupation. Dr. Reyes spent most of the journey fine-tuning the counter-resonance weapon. The device, officially designated the Quantum Field Disruptor, had tested successfully against simulated Krell systems, but there had been no opportunity to try it against actual Krell technology. "What if they evolved their technology?" asked Lieutenant Commander Sonia Patel, the tactical officer assigned to work with Reyes. "Then we adapt," Reyes replied simply. "That's what humans do best." As the fleet approached the solar system, they maintained strict communications silence and used passive sensors only. The first shock came when they detected the scale of Krell presence, not just on Earth, but throughout the system. Mars had been terraformed. Venus was surrounded by massive structures. The asteroid belt had been partially dismantled for resources. Earth itself was almost unrecognizable from orbit. The oceans remained, but their color had changed to a deep purple. The continents were covered with alien structures and vast agricultural areas growing unknown crops. The atmosphere had been modified, likely to better suit Krell physiology. Life signs. Admiral Chen asked as the fleet maintained position behind Jupiter's moon Callisto, using its mass to shield them from detection. Billions, the sensor officer reported grimly, concentrated in what used to be our major cities. The Admiral turned to Dr. Reyes. Will your device work against this many targets? The beauty of quantum mechanics, Admiral, is that scale is irrelevant. Once initiated, the counter-resonance will cascade through all connected Krell systems. Then we proceed as planned. Launch the advance team. A small stealth vessel detached from the flagship, carrying Dr. Reyes, Commander Patel, and a team of Special Forces operators. Their mission was to infiltrate Earth, place the quantum field disruptor at a specific location, the former site of the UNSC headquarters in Geneva, and activate it. The stealth technology developed on Novatera allowed them to slip past Krell patrols and enter Earth's atmosphere undetected. Landing in the mountains that had once been called the Alps, they got their first close look at what Earth had become. The air was breathable for humans, but barely. The vegetation was a mixture of Earth species and alien plants that grew in strange patterns. Occasionally, they spotted wildlife. Some recognizable but oddly altered, others completely alien. As they approached Geneva, they encountered their first Krell up close. The aliens were taller than humans, with iridescent skin that shifted colors with their movements. They moved with an unsettling grace on 4 lower limbs, while 4 upper limbs performed various tasks. Their faces featured compound eyes and breathing apparatuses that suggested they found Earth's atmosphere tolerable, but not ideal. The team avoided contact, using abandoned underground infrastructure to reach their target. The UNSC headquarters was now a Krell administrative center, a sprawling complex of crystalline structures that pulsed with energy. The disruptor needs to be placed at the central power node, Reyes explained as they observed from a concealed position. According to our scans, that's in the sublevel of the main structure, approximately where the UNSC quantum computers were housed. Commander Patel nodded. Sierra team will create a diversion on the east perimeter. That should draw enough security for us to access the maintenance tunnels. The operation proceeded with precision, while explosives detonated on the complex's perimeter, drawing Krell security forces. Reyes and a small team infiltrated through maintenance access points that still, remarkably, followed human engineering patterns beneath the alien modifications. They reached the central power node, a pulsating crystalline structure that towered 3 stories high. Reyes quickly attached the disruptor device to the base of the crystal. How long until it activates? Patel asked, keeping watch at the entrance. The device needs to synchronize with the Krell quantum field, Reyes explained, working on a portable terminal connected to the disruptor. Once it establishes the pattern, it will generate the counter-resonance. Estimated time is 15 minutes. Those 15 minutes became an eternity as Krell security forces began returning from the diversion. The team took defensive positions, prepared to protect the device until activation. The first Krell to enter the chamber died instantly from precise human weapons fire, but more followed, using energy weapons that distorted space itself around their targets. 2 human operators fell before Commander Patel sealed the main entrance with explosives. "We've got company from the upper levels," reported one of the remaining operators as sounds of movement came from above. 10 minutes, Reyes announced, eyes fixed on her terminal. The firefight intensified as Krell forces breached from multiple access points. The human team fought with desperate determination, each person knowing the mission's importance transcended their individual survival. 5 minutes, Reyes called out, taking cover as energy blasts scorched the wall behind her. Commander Patel was hit, an energy discharge catching her in the shoulder. She continued firing one-handed, her expression grimly determined. 2 minutes. Only Reyes, Patel, and one operator remained functional when the terminal emitted a series of tones. Counter-resonance pattern established, Reyes announced. Initiating now. She pressed the activation sequence. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the crystalline power node began to vibrate, its glow intensifying. The effect spread outward like ripples in a pond. The Krell weapons stopped functioning first. Then their communication devices failed. The aliens looked at their equipment in confusion before the effect reached their personal shields and technological implants. Across Earth, the cascade expanded exponentially. Krell ships fell from the sky. Their city-sized power generators went dark. Technologies that had allowed them to subjugate a planet suddenly became inert crystalline sculptures. In orbit, Admiral Chen watched the sensor readings with satisfaction. All ships, commence landing operations. Earth is waiting for us to come home. The liberation of Earth took months, not the years that had been anticipated. Without their technology, the Krell were vulnerable. Many chose to surrender when faced with humans whose adaptations to Novatera's harsh conditions had made them physically superior to their Earth-evolved ancestors. 1 year after the landing of the Novateran fleet, Admiral Chen and Dr. Reyes stood on the rebuilt observation deck of what had once been UNSC headquarters in Geneva. Below them, the city was a curious mix of preserved Krell structures and new human construction. What will happen to them? Reyes asked, watching a group of Krell being escorted to a transport ship. They'll be relocated to the Kuiper Belt habitats they constructed, Chen replied. They can live there under supervision. Some have already agreed to knowledge exchange programs. Reyes nodded, looking out over the landscape. Earth was still not the planet humanity had left behind. The Krell had changed it fundamentally. The atmosphere, the biosphere, even the color of the oceans. It would take generations to restore what could be restored and adapt to what couldn't. We should start bringing colonists from Novatera, she suggested. Not everyone. We need to maintain both worlds now, but enough to begin proper restoration efforts. Already in progress, Chen confirmed. The first civilian transport ships will arrive next month. As they spoke, a group of children ran past them. The first human children born on Earth in over 2 centuries. They played carelessly, adapting to Earth's lower gravity with delight, untroubled by the complex history of the ground beneath their feet. Reyes smiled watching them. Commander Elena Reyes once said that humans don't just survive. We return, we rebuild, we reclaim what's ours. I think she'd be proud today. I think. Admiral Chen replied. She always knew we would come back. Above them, the sky was blue again, not the purple-tinged atmosphere the Krell had created, but the vibrant blue of humanity's ancestral home. And in that blue sky, ships arrived daily from Novatera, bringing humans back to the world where their species began. Humanity had not just survived. It had returned, stronger than ever before.